Music. It's one of the most important aspects of just about every media outlet. Music can ruin an important moment in a dramatic movie. Music can be the only good quality of an otherwise mediocre TV show. Music, in anything, can elevate already good moments into truly unforgettable experiences. Whether that be in media or even actual moments in your everyday life, the importance of a well-placed or well-timed song cannot be undermined. It is especially important in video games, which is objectively one of the most subjective mediums of entertainment. So that's what we are here to discuss today. I want to talk about what I believe makes a great soundtrack to a video game, as well as why a great soundtrack is so vital to a game's lasting impact on the player. Of course, I'd like to preface pretty much this entire video by saying that I am not a music critic. I love music, it's a huge part of my life, but I find articulating about and reviewing music is actually very difficult and incredibly different to what I usually do here. So while I do not consider myself an expert on music theory, I do consider myself pretty well versed in the field of game theory. That's someone else, actually, so never mind. But without further ado, let's talk about the importance of a video game soundtrack. One of the most important parts of a soundtrack is finding a theme that fits with the way the game plays and its style. A good example of this, I believe, is the Souls games, and the one I'm primarily going to be talking about here is Dark Souls 3. In some instances, experimenting to find a soundtrack theme that works for your game can be very difficult. In some games, it can be very easy depending on what you're working with. Dark Souls 3 does an incredible job with this overall. The OST, composed by Yuka Kitamura, largely centers around a bombastic choir and powerful church bells to draw you into this beautifully destructive world. These primary instruments they use harmonize so well with the gothic environment that they've created that you can't help but have just a big stupid smile on your face every time you're met with a new piece of music. Even though the series is very well known at this point for its absolutely brutal bosses as far as difficulty and sometimes fair share of bullshit, their soundtracks are always so good that they inspire you to dive into that fog wall one last time to try and take down that enormous horror beyond human comprehension. Not to mention, every track feels so incredibly distinct from one another, which is also masterfully accomplished by Ultrakill. Another aspect that I personally look for in a great OST is a good variation. Variation can mean a lot of different things when it comes to music, but what I mean is that each track is easy to tell apart from one another. This element is also incredibly difficult to accomplish, at least in my opinion, because it is very easy to try and make something unique, but in doing so have a very jumbled soundtrack full of songs that feel like they have nothing in common with each other. The reason Ultrakill does such a phenomenal job at this particular element is due to the nature of its biomes. Biomes in any game should feel different from one another, but since in Ultrakill you're meant to be traveling through hell, these biomes feel ridiculously different from one another. You go from a mechanical maze of hallways to a grassy hellscape with no end in sight, a neon sprawling city, straight into a literal stomach with bones and teeth and eyes that follow your every move. Every environment feels so special not only because of its visual style, but because of the OST that accompanies it. Hakido, Ultrakill's developer, who makes music under the name Heaven Pierce Her, does a great job of this through the whole game, but really steps it up in Act 2. With the second set of stages released for Ultrakill, Hakido released some of the most beautiful and fitting tracks that I've ever heard. Tracks throughout Greed perfectly encapsulate the Egyptian vibe on the whole layer. The musical choices of Wrath do an incredible job of taking your oceanic journey to new depths. Heresy is backed with an absolutely kick-ass electric guitar lending to the hellish landscape that you find yourself in. Every set of songs that are present in each layer each have a very unique feel from the previous or the next set of songs, but they all have a level of continuity that makes it very clear they all stem from the same game. You can't really talk about music without bringing up the undeniable importance of any music to be memorable. The memorability of an OST makes it a lot easier to remember key moments from a game as well as specific memories about said game. Music is also key for nostalgia, which is why people are so fond of games like Minecraft, Halo, Terraria, and other games from their childhood. Not only are the OSTs of these games just really fucking great, but they remind people of good memories. The specific game that I want to discuss in this section is Final Fantasy VII, both the original and the remake. I would consider myself a fan of the Final Fantasy series, having played a few of them, but not nearly enough to call me a diehard fan, since there are quite a few. Regardless, everyone on Earth and their mother has heard this song. One thing that I can pride this series on based on the games I have played are their extremely lengthy songs that feel almost episodic, being broken up into sections that have very different melodies. My two favorite examples of this are Dancing Mad from Final Fantasy VI and, as previously mentioned, One-Winged Angel from Final Fantasy VII. It makes these songs such a pleasure to listen all the way through because each of these sections almost feel like an entirely different song. But I'm getting ahead of myself. There's one track in particular that I wanted to talk about from Final Fantasy VII, and it's one I feel like isn't talked about enough. The song title is Bombing Run, and it's one of the very first tracks in FF7's campaign. As you watch a cinematic sweep over a beautiful city, you get a triumphant chorus of brass. The music begins to swell before deepening as we zoom into a speeding train entering the city. Here, we're introduced quickly to our main cast before kicking into the most ethereal fucking piano you've ever heard in your life. You travel through the city, fighting and running from the military hand in hand with a violent ensemble of now brass, strings, percussion, and that goddamn piano. With a slow but absolutely necessary build-up, this track culminates into such a fucking amazing opening sequence, and I honestly frequently think about the opening to this game just because of this section. The particular version that I played is from Distant Worlds, which is an orchestra I believe separate from the Final Fantasy creators, but they perform their music. One of the greatest parts of the remake is the completely modernized soundtrack. Very few core elements are changed, but instead of 8-bit, everything is now so beautifully recorded and overhauled to fit the more visually stimulating version of the game that it's really just so good. And I don't want to go on too long, but I am going to plug Final Fantasy real quick, because Final Fantasy VII really is as good as everyone says, so yeah, check it out. There is one last thing that I look for though, and this is more of a personal thing as it doesn't really matter all that much to the quality of the soundtrack and the soundtrack's context in the game, but I like when a soundtrack is versatile. Some really good examples are games like, again, Terraria, Halo, Minecraft, but also things like Undertale, Doom, and Fury is one I like a lot as well. When a game's soundtrack is versatile, what I mean by this is that it can be used in a lot of different scenarios. Things like memes or YouTube videos, much like the kind that I make, or even music that you're just perfectly comfortable throwing in a playlist and listening to outside of the context of the video game. When this video game music is so good that it transcends the need to be playing the game to enjoy, that's how you know it's really well made. For the record, I think just about every game I've mentioned here excels in all these different areas. Some do it better than others at certain things, but the bottom line is they're all really solid soundtracks. All of these elements really come together in the end, truly completing the experience that is a video game. Doom, for example, the reboots, that is. Doom 2016 is immortalized by its unique approach to a heavy metal soundtrack. And while without it, the gameplay itself wouldn't change, the perception of the gameplay would change. The player wouldn't feel like a badass, unstoppable force, or maybe not to the same degree without that heart-pounding, eardrum-shattering soundtrack. But let's go back a little further. Would the early Halo games still be good without their beautiful, influential sound? Yes, they'd be great, but they certainly would not be just as unforgettable as they are today. We've got some time yet, so let's go even further back. Super Mario Bros., even Pac-Man. Where would those games be without their music? I'm sure they'd probably be in similar places of fame, but regardless, their simple musical loops have become so famous, so recognizable, such a large part of their brand that they may not have made it this far into modern day society, but we'll have no way of ever knowing that. We have a Mario movie coming out. A Mario movie. This series has been around for 40 years as of a couple of weeks ago, and I guarantee you that they'll use the original theme in it somewhere. I guarantee you that with 100% certainty, because that's what people come for, that's what they remember, that's what people recognize. But with that being said, thank you to everyone who stuck around this long and listened to me talk about things that I don't really know about. I might not be knowledgeable, but I am passionate. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'd really appreciate you guys if you liked the video, maybe even dropped down a comment or subscribe for fun, you know, the whole thing. But yeah, thank you guys for doing that for me. And thank you for watching again. So I'll catch you in the next one.